In this tutorial, you are going to learn the fundamentals of GDScript programming and build a solid foundation for game development in Godot. And throughout this video, I have the hands-on challenges for you to take on to enhance your skills. And at the end of this video, you will have a complete understanding of GDScript variables and data types. You will gain practical experience with arrays and dictionaries, solid knowledge with static and dynamic typing, mastering variable scope, and along with other fundamentals concept in GDScript. Okay, without further ado, let's head to the video. Now, before we proceed, let's talk about the agenda of this course on what you're going to learn and expect. Now, the first is you're going to master the core data types. You will be able to declare and manipulate the integers, floats, strings, and booleans. You will know how to work with arrays and use them for inventories, high scores, and game lists. You will know what is dictionaries and how to use them, apply naming conventions and coding standards, understand the type system. You will know the difference between dynamic and static typing, implement type hints for better performance, and debug type-related errors effectively. At the end of this course, you will also master the variable scope and organization. You will know the difference between global versus the local scope and organize the code with proper scoping strategies. Avoid common scoping pitfalls in game development. We're also going to tackle the string formatting and interpolation for dynamic game messages, and we're going to discuss the different string formatting methods and how to use them in our code. And after the end of this course, you are going to acquire the problem solving skills. I created the 6 hands-on coding challenges so that you can use your new acquired knowledge and experiment more. You will know how to debug and fix common beginner mistakes and write clean and maintainable game code. We are going to dig deep each of them and discuss them individually. This course is tailored for complete beginners, so it has no programming experience required. However, you should install Godot Engine in your local machine. As per the recording of this video, the latest stable version for Godot is 4.5. Now go and download the Godot in their official website. I attached the link below the description. I also have the introductory course for Godot, and I highly recommend you to watch that so that you'll have the knowledge and fundamentals for Godot Engine, how to create the scenes, how to create the nodes, and the most basic 2D nodes used in 2D games. And the last prerequisites is growth mindset. I have the hands-on coding challenges throughout this course, and I highly recommend you to solve that first before watching my solution, because I firmly believe that the real growth happens when you solve something on your own. So go ahead and solve the challenges that I will provide throughout this course. But if you really can't solve the challenge, then it's okay also. You can watch my solution. However, make sure to understand that and reflect on your own. Okay, after you've downloaded the Godot engine and opened it, you'll move here in the project manager. Now let's create a new project here directly. You can name it however you like. I will name it a master GDScript. Let's create that project. Okay, we'll move here to a much familiar world in Godot. If you watch my introductory course in Godot Engine, but if you're not, then it's okay, since in this video we'll be more focusing on the script, not in the Godot Engine itself. So now I'll show you the couple of ways on how we can run a script inside the Godot Engine. But before that, every start of the Godot project, I want the naming convention to be consistent. Here in the project settings, search for a name, say naming. Here, inside the editor naming, I want the scene and the script name casing to be Pascal case. The same with the node name casing. So let's change that, Pascal case, and then script name casing to Pascal case. Okay, let's close that. And now I will show you how we can run the script inside the Godot engine. There's a couple of ways. I'll show you first. The one is to create a node 2D. It will be like a placeholder for us to create a script. But before that, let's save that. And you can save it in the root directory after clicking the Control S. Here, as you can see in our file, it is named as a Pascal case. Every first letter of the word is big letter. That's a Pascal naming convention. Now let's save that. And here on the Node 2D, click this icon here, the paper icon, to create a script. It inherits in the Node 2D. Okay, that's okay. And in the path, let's say GDScript. Okay, GDScript tutorial. Let's create that. After creating that, this would be the script of the Node 2D. We can run that. Let's run the classic hello world, classic hello world. Okay, just click this play button, and this script was saved inside our root directory. This would be the GDScript tutorial.gd. This is GDScript, and this node2d was also saved inside the root directory. This one node2d.tscn. That's the scene. Now let's hit the play button. Click the select current, and in the output, now we've managed to run the hello world. So that's the first way. But there's a couple of problem in here because first of all, when we always run, let's say we change something, like we change something in the code, something like that, and then rerun again. As you can see, there will always be a pop-up, so that's kind of annoying since we just need the output, not the UI. Okay. And the second problem of that is when every time we run this project, this here inside the ready function, our logs here, our log values was deleted. So we don't want that to happen because throughout this course, the previous value is very important. So I will show you here, this is hello world. We change something in the code. Let's print again. Testing. If you've observed this one, say 222. Let's rerun the project again. Yep, as you can see in here, the output was deleted and display a fresh output. Hello world 222, which is something in the code and testing. So we don't really want that to happen, and because of that, I will going to set up and run the script in other way. So now you can delete this node scene in here, delete this one, and also you can close this script, and also you can delete this .gd and .tscn. Delete the script, remove, delete the script, remove. So we have this icon, only icon inside the root directory. So we are going now to set up how to run the script without this pop-up and without deleting our past values. So to do that, click this ris here, our root directory, right click on that and create a new folder. To manage our scripting, we're going to write a new folder, scripting folder, click create, and then here, this is the folder, right click again, and then create a new script, this one. Create a new script, and then instead of inheriting from the node, we are going to inherit it to editor script. Okay? Then again, we'll name it a GDScript tutorial. Tutorial, hit create, and there's no pop-up in here, but you'll see here in the inside our scripting folder, expand that. Here, this is the GDScript. Double click on that and put tool at the top of the code, and then write the function this run equivalent to ready function in the node 2D, and let's print the classic hello world to see if our setup is running correctly. Now click the write the hello world, and instead of clicking in here the popping of the modal, we are going to right click this GDScript tutorial, right click this one, and then click run. Somewhere there's a run. If you don't see a run in here, meaning you don't put this, so it's important to put this tool at the top of the code, and then right click this one and then click run. So as you can see, we now have the value hello world in here outputted in our console, this one, and there's no pop-up happening. So this is less annoying, and you will see that this one, this change, this one won't be deleted if we are going to run again. So let's run again. As you can see, the hello world is not deleted. So that's the proper setup throughout our course. Okay, the tool here, tells the Godot that this script can run the editor. So it runs, and then the extends editor script. This inherits from editor script class, and this is the main our main function, the run, and yep, we've outputted the hello world this change. Okay, there are two types of comments in GDScript. The first one is the single line comment. You can put the hash in here. Hash, that's a single line comment. And there's a shortcut for that. You can click the command or control K in your keyboard and then click the forward slash. Okay. While doing that, you can implement the comment. And there's also a multi-line comment. This one, the three quotation mark in here. This will be ignored by the IDE. Let's say this this is multi-line comments. Okay, so it will be ignored by the IDE. Hello again, and when we run, let's say pass, and when we click the run, there won't be any output in here. Let's clear that and click run. Yep, as you can see, there's no any output in here because this one is commented single lines and this one is commented multiple lines. Now, I will show you the best practices when using the comments in GDScript. You should be explaining why your code does something when writing a comment, not what it does. And use comment when you want to document complex game mechanics or formulas. Add the context for your future developers. Well, it includes you. And don't comment obvious things like var health equals to 100 because, yep, it's very obvious. So don't do that. Variables in GDScript. Think of variables as labeled boxes that store information for your game. So in games, variables store everything. It could be the player stats, the game settings, dynamic content, and user input. There are two ways to define variables in GDScript. First is you can use the var keyword, and second you can use the const keyword. Now the var keyword, you can use something like this: health equals to 100, and the var it just means that this health could be reassigned later. Let's say reassign the health to 85. And let's run this code. Okay, there's an error. Let's run this code. Oh no, we don't print the health. Let's print that and then run the code again. Now you can see you declaring the variable using the var keyword. We can reassign the code. If we declare it using the const keyword, now we won't be able to reassign the health here because it cannot assign a new value to a constant. Okay, and the best practice when using a const keyword, declaring a variable using the const keyword, it should be at the top of your code, like this, const health, and it is constant, meaning, sorry, it is constant, meaning you are not going to reassign it later, because if we are going to reassign that, let's say health is equals to 85 now, and because if it is constant, it won't be reassigned. So that's the difference between the var and the const keyword. Now let's head to your very first challenge, the creating your RPG character. Now your task is to basically just create a variables and displaying it in the console. You'll create first variable character name, health points, magic points, and is the character currently in combat? So it is a boolean. Then you'll display all the information in the output. So the expected output for that is this one, the character sheet. You have the name, level, HP, MP, and in combat. So it's very basic. You'll just define some variables and then display that in the console. Now I'll try to do the challenge. I'll post the video. Okay, here's the first solution of the first challenge. Basically, we've just defined here the couple of variables. We are using the dynamic typing. We'll go over that later. What is dynamic and static typing? But this one is a dynamic typing. Okay. Now let's print the character sheet. This is the expected output and the name, character name, health points, magic points, and combat, just very basic. And when you run that here, when you run this code, now we've got this character sheet. And also you can go and click this icon here. And if you do that, then you're going to expand the IDE, which is great to have a more space. Okay, in the past section, we've tackled if declaring of variables using the var and const keyword. And now we are going to discuss when to use the constants or the var keywords. Okay. When using the constants, you can use it in the game rules like the max health, speed limits, or damage values, in the configuration settings, mathematical values that doesn't change, like for example gravity or the basic constants, and the unchanging text. So you can use the constants pretty much for anything that you don't want to change, and when to use the variables. Okay. You can use the variables that you want to change or reassign later, like for the player stats, and the current health, score, and the level, the game state, dynamic content, and the user input. So that's it. Just remember that you can use variable that to something that you want to change. Now for your second challenge, I'll provide you a predefined variables. These the constants, the core game rules that never change throughout our game. We have four variables in here: the game name, suppose it is a space explorer, max players, base movement speed, and diversion. Now here I'll provide also the some variables for the var keyword, current players, volume level, graphics quality, and then server online. You're going I'll provide the display configuration, and if you've run that, you'll have this, the game configuration. And what you're going to do in this challenge is you are going to simulate the settings change so that if you are going to print this, the expected output would be like this. So the volume 85%, from 75%, it should be 85% now, and then the player online should be 3 over 4. Okay, now you are going to add something in here in our simulate change. Here, apply the logic in here, and then display that after the settings change. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and try to add some logic in here so that we can have this expected output. Okay, did you manage to do that? It's just again basic. We just need to reassign the volume level to 85 so that we can have this 85%. And also for the current players, from the current players, from 2, we are going to reassign that to 3 players because the expected output in here is 3 over 4, and that 4 is the max player. And now after we simulate the settings change, we are going to display in here. Say I'll just copy and paste on my notes, something like this. So the volume level, which is now the 85, this one, and then concatenate it with this percentage. I mean, apply the percentage at the end of the volume level. And then for the players online, you got the current players. So we've reassigned the current players to 3, and we've managed to reassign this because the current players is using the var keywords, not the const keywords. And in the max players, this is a big letter, so we assume that this is a constant. Yep, this is a constant, and this is 4. So if we've cleared this and then run again, now we've got this same expected output. Okay, I hope you've managed to do that. And if not, then like what I've said, make sure to understand it and reflect. Okay, now that you've learned declaring variables using the var and const keyword, let's move to the GDScript data types. Okay, for the game development with GDScript, we have these integers. These are the whole numbers. The floats have a decimal places, strings, For the text data, the booleans, it is basically just a true or false. The arrays, a list of items, we're going to talk about that later. And the dictionaries, it is like a k-value pairs. It is a complex data with labels. So now um, we'll go to our IDE. Now let's go each of them for the basic data types in Godot. First is the integer. Actually, we've encountered this in our past example. This is like a integer whole number. So this one is an integer. Integer. And for the float, yes, it has a decimal places. So something like this. And for the string, very familiar. Let's say we have a graphics quality in here. So you can define the string like this, or a single quote, or a single quotation mark, or a double quotation mark. And then for the boolean, you can it is a data type that has two value only, which is a true and false, something like this. And then here has k. This one. This is the boolean. And this is the string, the float, and the this integer. In the string, we can also define a multi-line strings like this. Let's say we have a quest dialog in here. Let's say this one. Okay, be careful for the indentation. We have this quest dialog, so it is a very long. So you might use the multi-line strings for stories or dialogue. So you can do that like this, triple quotation mark, like that. It is acceptable. This single line string and then multiple line string. And for the boolean, we've got some logical operators for that. Okay, try to remember this. The and is for the boolean, it will going to set to true if both conditions must be true, or at least one condition is true, and then not basically flips true to false. Okay, let's say boss defeated in here. Say if boss defeated and player has key, we're going to print can enter the castle. Okay, a missing expression. Now, if we're going to run this, the output for this is going to be what? Because we are using the AND operator, the output for this is going to be false, because since it's going to be false, that's why it doesn't print here. So we add the fallback, cannot enter. Okay, if we run this, since it will output to be false, then it will go here in the else statement. So if we run that, we can it stays here that cannot enter. Okay, but if we've replace that to or logical operators, then we can enter the castle like this. Run can enter the castle because the or operator is at least one condition is true. So long there's a true statement, it will going to be true. And for this not, this one, basically it will going to flip true to false and then false to true. So something like this. Let's see, print this player has key is false, but if you're going to use the net, something like that, if we run this, then it will going to output true. Okay, now I'm going to delete all of this. You can save this somewhere if you want, but for me, I'm going to delete this for now. And then let's proceed to our next challenge, the challenge 3. Okay, for your third challenge, you're going to simulate a dynamic dialogue system. Okay, I'll provide you the expected output. So this is the expected output. You have the character introduction, this one, and then it has a for print in here. So I provided you a for print. You just need to replace these question marks. And here for the logic, you are going to apply the logic in here so that you can use it here in our character info display. I provided you some player information. We have the three variables using the var keyword, the player name, which is Zara, this one Zara, and then character class, the fire mage, and then guild rank, the elite. So I'm going to pause the video and try to solve the challenge. Okay, did you manage to do that? Hopefully you are, and if not, then let's do this together. Okay, actually, I'm just going to copy and paste it to my notes. Okay, there's an indentation problem. Be careful for that. Okay, this is the built dynamic dialog. This is the logic, the character title. There's so much string concatenation in here, and we've also uses the toOpper, a built-in method in Godot, in which the character title, as you can see, player name, the character class, as you can see in here. Let's clean that, run this again. As you can see in here, it was converted to upper liter because we're using the toOpper built-in method in Godot. And to display the character info, you just print this 4 in here. Hopefully you've managed to solve the challenge, but if not, then it's okay as long as you've reflect on this and make sure you've understand. Okay, you know about the integers, the floats, the strings, and the booleans. So you know how to declare them and manipulate them. Now let's proceed to the arrays. Okay, arrays is the list and collections. It like the containers that hold multiple items in order. So for you to understand that how it hold multiple items, let's go to our IDE. We're now back in our Godot engine. So to declare and manipulate the arrays, let's say we have this player inventory, and then the array is like this one. So this is the arrays, and this is a empty array. So you can add in here, you can add the string, you can add a float, you can add integer or boolean. You can add any data types inside this array. So let's say the name Alex, say it has 100 and then 15.5 and then false. It's completely valid. So let's try to print this player inventory and run this one. It will going to run successfully. Okay, so inside the array you can put multiple items in order. Okay, now in our inventory, let's say, now let's delete this in our inventory. Let's say we have the iron sword. Okay, this is a real game scenario. The health potion, it has, you have a magic key and gold coins. Okay, as you might observe inside the player inventory, I have the all strings data type. Okay, that's okay. Well, we're going to print that. Now let's print the first index of the player inventory. In the programming of array, we have this zero index. So we are not going to start counting from one, but we are going to count from zero. To get this iron sword, we are going to say player inventory, and in the first index, zero. Okay. So why is that? Player invent. Okay. Wrong variable. Let's clear that, and then run our project. We've got this iron sword. So to get the magic key, you're going to count first from 0. Okay, 0, 1, and 2. So it would be 2. Now run again. We have this magic key. So to get the last value, it's okay. You can count 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if you put 3 in here, we've got the gold coins. Run that one. But there's also another method. If you're going to get the last value, let's say it has a multiple value in here, like 100, 200. So counting might be not a good solution. So to get the last value of that, you can just save -1, and then let's clear this one. Run our code. You've got the gold coins. Okay. So to get the first value, 0, and to get the last value, -1. Now we are going to loop this array. To do that, we are going to use the for loop keyword in GDScript, I in range. If you're familiar with Python, it's very similar. So let's say 1 and 5. Let's print the I. Okay, expected colon after for condition. So if you've got a compile time error, I highly advise you to not be panic and just read the error in here. So it's very straightforward. It says that we've locked this expression in here, and then let's clear this one, Control Alt key, and run the code. Now we've got this 1, 2, 3, 4. So when looping in GDScript, we can use this I in range. It's very straightforward. So if we are going to loop the up to 10, since this last number is exclusive, meaning not included. So as you can see here, 1 to 4, the 5 is not included, but the 1 is included. So if you are going to loop 1 through 10, so we are going to use the 1 and 11. Okay, let's run again. Okay, first let's clear that and run again. Now we've got the 1, 2, 3 up to 10. Okay, so if you want to increment not by 1, since here it was incremented by 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to increment it, let's say by 2, you can just put another arguments in here, 2, and it will going to increment by 2. So it started from 1, it will going to say 1, 3, and 5. Now let's show that. Let's run this again. 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So that's the syntax of looping in GDScript. So please try to remember that. Now let's loop this player inventory. So we are going to get the size in here. Let's say range that size. Let's try to run this. Okay, we've got this index instead of the value. Got this player inventory in here. Since we've got this index, run again. Okay, we've got the value. So by looping the array, you can use something like this. For I in range player inventory that size, then print player inventory I. Okay. So now, let's say we can put some condition inside this for loop. Let's say we can also put this outside as a variable. Say this is the value, this is the player inventory, and then we can print this value. It's pretty the same. It will going to print the iron and the health potion, magic key, and gold coins. You can put value like if value is equivalent to the iron sword, you can print I found the iron sword. Else, you can say else in here. Let's say print the value. Okay. Now let's clear the output and run the project again. Okay, we are going to. It say I found the value, but it prints out all the value. Why is that? Let's figure out if though it prints. Okay, it might because we've still in looping. Let's try to break in here and then run again. Okay, first. Okay, I found the iron sword. If found it, then break so that it will go here in the print. Okay, just I would just want to show you that inside the for loop we can add an additional conditional statement. This is the for loop and this is the if statement. Now in this, what I want you to remember is we've got this built-in method, the size. We've got this number on how many of it inside the array. So we've got the four value four items in here. You can get the size and also for getting all the value individually, you can do something like this for loop value pair inventory then I so that you'll get each of them individually. Okay, our next challenge would be inventory management system. Okay, you can solve this using our what we've learned in the array section. So let's say we've got your starting items, you've got health potion, rusty sword, and bread. So you can just use you can declare any variable, but it should be an array. And then put this health potion, rusty sword, and bread. And then you can add magic ring to that inventory. Okay, you can just search for the how to add a magic ring to the inventory because I forgot to show that to you. But just a tip, you can use the built-in method using the append. And then remove the bread from the inventory and check if player has health potion. And finally, display the final inventory count and contents. Again, for you to understand that clearly, This is the expected output. First, print this one directly. Okay. Then the starting inventory, health potion, rusty stored bread. So you just use the print the inventory, and then the items 3 out of 10. So you've learned this one in our string section, how you concatenate the string. Okay. So try and solve our challenge, and you must get this expected output correctly. Now I'm going to pause the video and try to do that. Now here's the solution for the fourth challenge. Okay, first you've tasked to define an array here using this expression in here, and inside also provided what should be inside. Obviously, that was the health potion, the rusty sword, and the bread. So at first we have three items, and for the inventory size of this array should be a maximum of 10. Okay, inventory management, starting inventory. Okay, inventory, you just print it out. So here, this one here, inventory management, this is this one. It just printed directly. And then this is starting inventory in here, just output the inventory of what the original inventory. So starting inventory, the health potion, the rusty sword, and the bread. And then how many items? So items, you can, as I've said in our last section, we can use the size to get the number of items. So it says here that we've got 3 because we have 3 items inside the inventory array. Okay. And then the max inventory, of course, we can use the plus operator, or you can use this comma here so that you can get this. Okay. So max inventory size is 10. So this print in here is equivalent to this one. Okay. So this print in here is equivalent to this one. Now, let's add a new item. I give you a tip on how to add a new item. I said you can use the append. So basically, this inventory, you can use the append so that you can append the magic ring. So now we got the health potion, rusty sword, bread, and the magic ring. So when you print this added magic ring, okay, added magic ring, it is checked now. And then let's say in the game you've consumed the bread inside your inventory. Okay, imagine you've consumed the bread, so you've tasked to remove the unwanted item because you already consumed it. So to do that, you just say if the bread is in inventory. It's pretty straightforward. If the bread, this one, the bread is inventory, is it true or false? Well, is it true because we've got the bread inside our inventory? Okay, so the bread here, if it is true, which is it is true, then the inventory that erase the bread. So we are going to erase the braid here, erase the braid. We are going to erase this braid here in our starting inventory, and then print the consumed braid. So let's say we've already added the magic ring and we've consumed the bread. Okay, now we got to check for healing. Say has healing. Again, is the health potion inside the inventory? Yes, okay. Health potion is inside our inventory. If it is, then healing available. This has filling should be true, okay? Again, should be true. So this here, healing available, and this here, healing available has health is true because the health potion is inside our inventory. So as you might observe, the condition in here is like a native English. Health potion in inventory, except we don't have a question mark. Okay? Now we are going to display the final state of our array after we've added the magic ring, after we've consumed the bread. Now you've got this final inventory. Okay, that one is just this one, which you've printed directly. And then for the print items inventory, that size again, the size to get the size of the inventory, which is 10, which is 3 rather. Then the max inventory is 10. So this print in here is equivalent to this one. And then the contents inventory is now the health potion, the rusty sword, and the magic ring. Okay. So as you might observe here in our starting inventory, the health potion, the rusty sword, and the magic ring. So there is no bread here in our contents, but we have a new magic ring because we've added that in here, added magic ring using the append methods in GDScript. Okay. So the lastly, we are using the for loop. So I've showed this also print the how to print the item inside the arrays. You can use the for loop. So however, you will have to add the number also. So here we for loop the inventory that size and then added the I. This is the index. We've just added the one so that it will start from one because as I've said in the array, we are counting starting from zero to get the index. Okay. Then the inventory I. This is the value. So as you can see here, the health potion, the rusty sword, and the magic ring. We've got this 1, 2, and 3. Okay, it's kind of hard challenge. So I understand if you can kind of find it hard or challenging, but yeah, that's the solution. Okay, we already know now what is integers, what is floats, what is a strings, and what is a values. And we also know how to work with arrays. Okay, now the last data types of this course and the most complex one I can say is dictionaries. Okay, let's go back to our Godot engine and let's try to understand that. Okay, in dictionaries, it is store information with labels, which is the case instead of position. So going back in our arrays, we use the positioning or the index to know the position of our item. Let's say this one, let's say var inventory, just review a value 1 and then value 2, value 3. Now to get this value, we've used the index to get the position. So we've using like a inventory and then counting the value 2 to get this rather 1 and 1 not 2 because this is the value we want to print. Okay, but in dictionaries we can use the labels. So the syntax for that is, let's say, the player character. Say we have a player character and the expression for that is open and close curly braces. Okay, then inside of this one is the k and value pairs or k and value pairs. Let's say the k is the name and then the value is Zara the Brave. Okay, Zara the Brave. Then let's add another properties. Let's say the class of that is, say, Zara is a paladin class, and then um her level is for now is 12. Okay, so to get the name of Zara the Brave out of the player character, you can say something like this: player character, and then you can use the open and close bracket and get inside the K. So what are the K of this Zara the Brave? She is Zara the Brave. Then we can use this name. It is also called the bracket notation. Okay. So when we are going to run that run this expression, we get the Zara the Brave. Okay. This one, Zara the Brave. So how about the level 12? Okay, Zara the Brave, say, is of level she is level, then you can get the player character again. Let's just copy and paste this one. It's of level. Okay. String and int in operator. Okay, let's try this one because we just need to concatenate that. Run again, okay. Zara the Brave is of level 12. Nice. Level 12. So to get that, you just use the bracket notation or else you can use the dot notation. So for the dot notation, you can use this dot notation. It's also acceptable. It's of level player character. Dot notation, that in here. So let's run this again. Run. Zara the Brave is of level 12. So it's the same. However, this dot notation won't work if the of our case are have a space. So let's say level testing. Okay, level testing. So level testing, if we are going to put that in here, we've got an error. Okay, so my advice is we should always use the bracket notation because it works both like that And then this one, let's convert this to bracket notation. Okay, let's run this again. We've got the Zara, the Brave is of level 12. Okay, so this one is a bracket notation, whether it has a space or not. We are going the bracket notation from now on. Now I've got the predefined player character in here, a variable player character with a couple of properties. Again, as I've said, I provide you the link to this one so that you won't type these properties, each of them. So now here's the character profile. Again, player character, the name, it will just display Zara the Brave. And then the class, yep, the class, and then the player level, then which location. Let's run this one. Zara the Brave, Paladin, which is level 12. And then the location is in Crystal Cave, level 3. So the location, this one. So that's how you display the value inside this player character, which is the dictionaries. Okay, this one you call the dictionaries, having a key value pairs. Also, you might wonder how to get you might wonder how to get the weapon inside this equipment because this is a dictionary and one of the property also has a dictionary. So this equipment have these curly and open and close curly braces, dictionary syntax. So to get this weapon, this Holy Sword plus 2, the Blissplate Mail, the Ring of Protection, you can just use the double bracket notation. So first inside the equipment, and then use again the weapon, this one, Holy Sword plus 2, and then the armor, which is the Blessplate Mail. Now let's run this. And as you can see here in the equipment, we've got the Holy Sword plus 2 and Blessplate Mail. So the pattern is basically the same as long as this equipment in here has this property valid, then it will going to display the value. Now I'm going to delete this now and close this one. We can also manipulate this data in here because yep, we're using the var keyword. So in our past section, we can manipulate the variable if you're using the var keyword, not the const keyword. Okay, let's say we're going to change the level. Where's the level? This 12. Let's say we're going to add a plus 1, let's say, because the player is leveling up. So let's say here, oh, sorry, the player has leveled up. Okay, so we can just say player character, then the level, because that's the level property, plus equal to 1. Okay, now when we are going to print this player character, here the print the player character level, we can get 13. Okay, because this player has leveled up. And also we've got another dictionary here inside the stats. So let's try to modify the strength. This one, so just basically the same. Okay, the players level up. So in other words, her stat was also level up. Okay, one inside the stat, there is a strength. Okay, strength. Also, you can click the control and space so that Godot can recommend something, which is very good. Now plus equal to, let's say her strength is now become added a 2 after he leveled up by 1. So her strength, instead of the 18, it will going to become 20. So let's print the player character. Yeah, total. And then let's run this code. Now as you can see, find the level. Now instead of 12, she is now level 13. And find her stats, which is the strength. Find here, okay. The strengths, instead of 18, she is now has the strength of 20. Okay, so now that you've understand the dictionaries, hopefully you've understand the dictionaries. Let's proceed to our second, to the last challenge. Okay, here's the challenge 5, our second to last challenge for this course, the character stats management. Um, Your task in here is to build a character system. You are going to use a dictionaries, not an array. Store player information, updates the health after taking 20 damage, adds 150 experience points. Basically, we've talked this all. Upgrades the weapon from Iron Sword to Stealth Sword, and then show before and after comparison. Okay, for you to understand that, here's the expected output. So if you run your code, you should have this expected output. But I will give you the um, character dictionary so that you have a hint on how to achieve that. Okay, to achieve that challenge, this is your predefined character and the properties. So you can use this to solve the challenge 5. Now I'm going to pause the video and try to solve that. Okay, to solve the challenge, actually it's just pretty much the same on our past discussion. So to solve the or to achieve the expected result, this is the before adventure. Basically, we've got this character name, get Torlin, okay, adventure events, and then after adventure. So this is the before adventure coming from the original character dictionaries, and then this the events on what happens when you are on adventure. Your health, you took damage something to the enemy, so your damage, you've got a 20 damage, so you've used the this one, the minus, and then your experience, however, level added an experience, so you gain an experience for the adventure. And then the character equipment weapon, say you found a new weapon inside our equipment. So this print the after adventure. So if I've run this, I've got the let's close this one. Now here's the expected output. Same to our challenge. So if you've managed to actually do that on your own, then good job. But if not, then and you've solved it through the solution, then make sure that you've understand and reflects on what you're missing. Okay, now let's proceed to the other section of the course. Okay, now that you've understand the variables, the constants, the data types in Godot, the arrays, the dictionaries, and some of the built-in methods, commonly used built-in methods in Godot, let's move on to the dynamic and static typing in GDScript. Okay, one of the GDScript most powerful features is the ability to choose between dynamic and static typing. So dynamic is flexible and static is strict. And understanding when to use each approach will make your games more reliable and performant. Honestly, our past examples and challenges are using the dynamic typing. So think of it like any box can hold anything. Yeah, flexible but potentially confusing. So I give an example of that. Let's say var my name, say Alex. Okay, you can print that my name Alex, and then run that Alex. However, yes, this is dynamic typing because when we change that to 27, let's say that's your age, and then run that again, then my name becomes 27, which is potentially confusing, and that is the dynamic typing. And static typing, sorry, this box only holds a numbers, strict but prevents mistakes. Okay, numbers or strings or booleans. So good example for that is say my name. You will always add static typing in here. Let's say that my name is a string. So if you've saved that, you've got a compile time error. Cannot assign a value type int as string. So you need to make it a string because this my name is a string. Okay. So we are honestly using dynamic typing in our past example, but um, from now on, we are going to use static typing, and that is the recommended way when we are declaring variables, so that it might be strict, but it prevents any bugs, any mistakes, and we can debug effectively. Okay. Okay. So in dynamic typing, it is prone to errors because let's say you have my name. Let's say this is a dynamic. Okay, you have my name Alex, but throughout your code you somehow change that to a numbers like that, and then let's say print my name that and run that. Then you might wonder that my name becomes 100 because you've reassigned that to 100. So that's a not a proper way to do that, and it will be prevented using the static typing. Let's say this is a string, and throughout your code, you change it to integer, a bad behavior. But because it is static typing, you prevent that kind of mistake. So it says here again, cannot assign a value to a type int as a string. So here, one, it will prevent the reassign to a new data types. Okay. Now here's the benefits of static typing. It will catch errors early because of the compile time error. It has better performance. It has better performance than dynamic typing. It has a clearer code and better IDE support. Okay, so I highly recommend that we should use the static typing. We should always state what kind of data types we are going to declare other than just a dynamic typing. Now I've got a more example in here in dynamic and static typing. Okay. Now you might observe that we are now using a static typing in here. Type hinted variables. Each variable has a specific type. Okay. Let's say player name. Obviously that's a string. Let's say hero of light. The player health. We might want that to make integer. So we've add the int in here and then movement speed. So it has decimal places and that is the float. D is invincible. To know that it is really a boolean, we are going to use the bool in here, data types, the false. And the inventory, we've got the array string. It's a data types, array string. So instead of the inventory, cost of sword potion, we've add the array string. And then the dictionary, of course, the dictionary, strength, and the defense. Okay, when we run that, got this here. Nothing changed. You can just update however you want. But make sure that if you update the player name, it should be updated in a string type, not the boolean type, the integer type. Okay, so that you don't have any errors. Let's see the player health in here. The player health is 100, and then you've reassigned that to 85. Error is okay because it is integer to integer, and then you've assigned the movement speed. Sorry, and then you've reassigned the movement speed from 5.75 to 6.2. That's also okay because it is float to float, is invincible, bool to bool, boolean to boolean, inventory append, adding string to array string. So since you're using a built-in method append in GDScript, this is acceptable also. And then after the updates, we've got this one. Okay, that's acceptable, but here in the compiler, because of our static typing strategies, if we manage to the player health to wounded, this wounded is a string. Yeah, that's a string, and then the movement speed instead of float, you've reassigned it to boolean. Then our IDE is shows an error. Error cannot assign to a string to int, cannot assign to bool to float. So that's a type safety of our code. Now let's comment this again. And now that you've know the type safety on how to declare a variable using static typing instead of dynamic typing. Now let's proceed to our last challenge of this course. Now this is the last challenge of this course, the type safe combat system. So you have to create a combat system using static typing, not dynamic, to prevent common bugs and ensure reliable gameplay. So your task is to build a combat system with static typing that first, create a player with 120 max health. Make sure that this 120 is an integer, 8 armors, 25 attack damage. Creates an enemy with 80 health, 15 attacks, simulate 3 rounds of combat. So it has a 3 rounds. Calculates damage reduction based on armor and shows health status after each round. Okay, the expected output for that is this one, kind of long. That's the expected output. Okay, now you can use these variables in here to complete the challenge 6. I give you the player health, player max health, and then the enemy. Okay, and also I've added the combat begins as the start of your challenge. Combat begins. So what you're trying to achieve now is to simulate 3 rounds of combat to achieve the expected results. Okay. Now I'm going to pause the video and try to do that. Okay, here's the solution for the last challenge. We've got the 3 rounds max for the combat simulation. And to do that, I've added the here a for loop. So it will going to have a 1, 2, and 3 for this 4 round. Now this is the solution. Try to understand that on your own. Basically, we've tackled this all the type safety, how to reassign the enemy health to player damage, enemy health, the max, don't go below zero. This is a new this is a built-in method also in Godot, but basically, this you can read that also in the documentation. It returns the maximum of the given numeric value. So what is the maximum? So if in the given values it has a maximum of 7, then it will return 7. Okay. Then player enemy health. This is a string formatting actually. And then checking the enemy if is dead, you can use this condition, enemy health less than or equal to 0. That's pretty straightforward. You can use this logical operator. Then if it is, then enemy defeated, then player wins. Okay, that's the logic. Check if the players died. Then if we run that, we've got these. Sorry. Then if we were going to run that, we've got this output in here. Round 1, the round 2, and then the round 3. Okay, it might not be too easy because there's a lot of information on that, but if you manage to achieve the output even without this solution, then congratulations. Now let's proceed to the next section. Now let's learn about the variable scope and code blocks in GDScript. And it can also be applied to other programming languages like Python, Java, C, C++. In GDScript, there are three scope hierarchy. We have this global scope, which the variables can be accessed from anywhere. The function scope, only accessible within a specific function. And in the block scope, variables only accessible within if, while, and for blocks. Now let's head to the IDE to understand that. Okay, I have the example in here. At the top is our global variable. Now this global variable can be accessed anywhere. You can access that to anywhere in the function in here. Can be accessed in the run function. It can also be accessed here in the calculate. If we say print global variable, then it won't throw any errors. However, this func variable here, if we try to access this in the other function, like let's say here, we are going to access this func variable inside the my status function. Let's say print func variable, then you will observe that it throws an error, a compile time error, because the identifier func variable here not declared in the current scope. So because it throws an error because this func variable in here is the function scope. That is why we cannot declare that to other function other than itself. Okay, so, and I observed that we've used some static dynamic typing in here. Okay, it should be static typing from now on. We should declare static typing so that our code is clear. Money, it is an integer. Health, it is a string. Okay, we can add this will throw an error. And also, the last scope is the block scope. Let's say, even you are in the function, let's say we have a health. If you are going to access that, even inside the function, it will also throw an error. It's a health error is because this health is exclusive only to else statement. So health not declared in the current scope because it is a block scope. Basically, that's um, it for the scope hierarchy for the global variable function scope and then for the block scope. I realized that I don't talk much on the function, but a function is basically another function rather than your main function. It can be you can use this or you can create another function so that you don't have any redundant code. If you have the same functionality, you just can create a function for that and call that inside the main function so that it will be all the logic here will be called. So if we are going to run that first, let's comment this out. And then if it's going to run this one, then we have this 9 coming from the global variable. Sorry, it is 9 because it is an integer. It should be a float. Sorry about that. Now let's run again. And now we have 9.8 and then the calculate damage 200 because we print this the func variable which is 200 and then the global variable again. Now 9 and then you are rich for this my status in here. If money is greater than 500, which is true, then it will print out you are rich. Okay, that's it for the function. Okay, you can use the function to clean up your code, to clean up redundant logic. It is used for code reusability and organization. Now let's proceed to the string formatting and interpolation section. Okay, when making a games, you often need to show text with variables inside the strings, like a player name, scores, or health value. Godot gives you a few ways to do this. Okay, for the string formatting, the most basic one is concatenation method. We use the plus operator. We've used this several times in throughout our course. So basically, for the player, let's run this one. Hero scored 120 points. So this one, hero scored. We use this because this is a string so that we can avoid any errors and then points. Hero scored 120 points. So that's the first method for the string formatting. This is a concatenation way, concatenation method. And then for the second one is the formatting using the percentage. Okay. So using the percentage formatting, which is the most commonly used also when building a dynamic messages. Here you can use similar to C Python style. You can use placeholders like for the string it is S, for the integer this is a D, and for the float this is the percentage F. We actually use this in our introductory course in Godot in our gem collector game. So this is the example. Okay. Now let's say we are going to comment this now. See the name hero, HP. So the output for this when we run that is hero has 80 over 100 HP. Okay. So what happened here is this is the placeholder has is the hard coded one, the text this one, and then hero is the S, which is the string. This name has D. This is the integer. Okay, what is that D? The HP. So 80. So basically 80 over the D again. The D is the integer. But this time this is a max. So 80 over 100, and then HP. Okay. So let's make it simple so that you will understand it. He is very good person. Then you can just say here name, and when we run that, okay. What's the problem? We've locked the percentage, so make sure we've got this percentage. Again, let's run this one. Hmm. There should be any comma, sorry about that. Now, hero is a very good person. Okay, this is a placeholder, so it's kind of dynamic. Think of it like a dynamic placeholder. So if you get this D here, it should be the integer. So if you run that, there's an error because we provide the name for the placeholder, which is in integer. So you can see here, S is a string, this is integer, and F is a float. Okay, so at that, say percentage, let's say the float, let's say the integer um, is the remaining HP is percentage D. So the remaining HP, that percentage, you can use the HP X. Okay, hero is a very good person. The remaining HP is 80. This one 80 HP. Okay, that's how you use the formatting. That's our um, formatting method, basic formatting method, the cleaner way I can say. And the last part of this section, we've talked about the string formatting and interpolation. And in this section, actually this is the last section, I will give you some best practices and tips on how to create and write a clean code and a maintainable game code. Okay, here are the three tips that I want to give you when writing any code in GDScript or in the Godot game development. The number one is the naming conventions. I advise you to declare a variable using the snake case when you want to declare the variables and the function, like for example, player health. So you have an underscore here that's equal snake case. And for the uppercase, if you want to declare a constant, always use the uppercase. A constant, like what I've said in the past section, it is a variable that you don't want to change, so that you're using the const keyword when declaring a variable. And for the Pascal case, you can use that for the classes and enums. Like for example, the class name, you can use a Pascal case, Pascal naming convention, and for the enum. And the second tip is the type safety. Okay, always use type hints for better performance and error catching. So first of all, we should declare the um, a variable using the static typing. For example, magic potion, we explicitly say that this magic potion is a string, has a case, a boolean, a true or false, and for the inventory, this is the static typing. For the inventory, player status, dictionary, and then for the position, vector 2. So basically, this static typing, always use that when declaring a variable. And then the last is initialize variables properly with meaningful defaults. Like for say, let's delete that. Like for say, the max health is initial or the default value is 100. So it is alive. For the speed, let's say 200, a float, not an integer, so that it has the accuracy. And for the is alive boolean, it is a true by default. Okay, avoid uninitialized variables that could cause an error. For example, this one, var uninitialized var. Okay, that's the best practices basically for the when developing a game in Godot. Now, if you've reached this far, congratulations. You now have the knowledge in GDScript. You have the concrete understanding on GDScript variables and data types, practical experience with array and dictionaries, and the mastery of variable scope and code organization, and also the hands-on experience from our multiple coding challenges. Yep, the focus of this tutorial might be just on the GDScript, but I will tell you that you can use the knowledge that you acquired in this video to the other programming languages that you want to learn. I assure you that the fundamentals remain the same. Again, congratulations, and you can always leverage the YouTube timestamp to go back to the section that you don't understand. That's it. Good luck and see you next time.